Hi, good morning. Welcome to my workshop, Be Heard, or as I like to say, be heard, because I want you to be heard. I want you to have the ability to get your message across to the people that you're trying to reach. So, first to introduce myself, my name is Sandra Bearden. I'm the owner of Weddings by Sandy and the creator of The Perfect Officiant. I am a non-denominational wedding officiant who also trains officiants. So welcome to the workshop. So be heard. What you will learn in today's workshop, how to easily get your message out to people. Now what do I mean by that? Many people get up and speak, but maybe the people in the back can't hear them. I deal with this every weekend when I do weddings. Sometimes I do weddings in a large facility where I need some sound, and oftentimes I hook in with the DJ. But sometimes there is no DJ, or sometimes I'm in a park and there's no electricity. So what do? We're going to get to that. So first, and again, tips and hints on how to use a sound system and a microphone, and tips on how to use this sound system that we're going to talk about in a minute. So how many times have you taught a workshop or a class and the people in the back can't hear you, right? And you're going, speak louder, because they can't hear you. Do you love teaching, but you have a very soft or maybe weak voice and cannot project yourself to the back of the room or to the back of the crowd if you're in a park or outside? Are your classes outside or in a large room? Again, this question, the wind, the environment, and other outside noises such as traffic and helicopters going over, we have that once in a while when we do a wedding, or a train going by. You can't be heard unless you have some sort of support. In a large room, the acoustics are everything. If you're in an auditorium, for example, sometimes the acoustics are great because they're actually set up for music or for sound. But if you're in a large room that echoes and your sound just goes off into the ceiling, or a large room where there's like soft couches, where there's lots of things to absorb the sound, you're just not going to be heard. So why not try a light, simple, and easy to use sound system? And it's right here. This is it right here, the Happie Amp. This is the solution to getting your message heard. So what's the Happie Amp? The Happie Amp is a light, small, easy to use, and I'm going to hold it up and show you how light and small it is. This is the Happie Amp. It's a tiny little thing. Whoops, what happened here? Lost my slide, but that's okay. We'll get back to that. It's a light, easy to use little sound system that's battery operated. You can use it in a park. You can plug it in. It's also got the AC outlet. It's got lots of features on it that will help you be heard no matter what kind of thing you do, whether you do music or whether you do just speaking. It comes with several wireless options. It comes with a handheld mic, which I don't have with me today. Here's the cord for the power. It also comes with a lapel microphone like this one that you can just literally clip on, like I've got the one on here. Okay, and it also comes with this nifty little, I call it the Rockstar headset, that goes on like this. It goes on like this, and then the microphone's right here, okay? So it's very simple to use. You can look like a rock star when you're doing your thing, which I think is fun. Okay. And all of these are ready to use. They're very easy and simple to operate. Everything you can hook up really quickly. The microphone's a tool. Now this is something I like to talk about. When you use a microphone, especially if you're using a handheld microphone, if you hold it down here, if you're pointing with it, if you're using it in all kinds of weird ways, you're not going to be heard. And the microphone and the sound system is working overtime, trying to get your sound, trying to pick up your voice so that you can get your message out there. However, if you're too close, like this, and you're like saying T's and P's and it's just popping and singing and stuff, it's just terrible. So you need to make sure that you're in what I call the sweet zone, that happy place where the microphone can be used. Now, if you're a singer, for example, I just want to share this with you because I used to be a professional vocalist, you can actually use the microphone to soften your voice. So if you're singing a big note and then you go down, you can pull the microphone away and it gets softer and softer and softer. So that's just ways to use the microphone that are kind of cool. Also, you don't want to do this. That's another thing that people do. They hold the mic too close and you can actually hear them breathing. It's like when a guitarist plays and they have their microphone too close on their strings and they go, you can actually hear them moving their fingers. It's the same kind of annoying sound. So you just don't want to do that. You want to make sure you keep it in the right place. And keeping it pointed towards your mouth is the best way to get the sound. It's really simple. Okay, volume control. On this system, there is a volume control. There's a volume control right here, right here, right here, and these are all volume controls for the different microphones, okay? So the important thing for volume control is this system has two different ways you can control the volume. On the amp itself or on the microphone. There's actually a little knob, and I'll show you. This little knob actually controls the volume. So you can actually turn that up and down. Now what the suggested way is to use this is to set the volume about 3/4 on here and then adjust it here when you go to talk. So if you're not loud enough and the people in the back can't hear you, you can turn it up here. You still have control that way, you know, rather than having to walk over to the amp and adjust it and that kind of thing, okay? Another thing is tone. Tone controls, especially when you're singing, tone controls your highs and your lows in your voice. Some people have really deep voices and you want to make sure that you capture that. Other people have really high and light voices and you want to make sure you capture that. So by controlling the tone, especially if you're a musician, it helps you blend with the other musicians. However, if you're speaking, you want that to be kind of flat because you want your real voice to come through and not so much, you know, the highs and the lows. Although you can adjust it a little bit if it feels like it needs to be adjusted. That is kind of an important thing. Special effects, echo, reverb. You know, we've all heard echo and reverb in music. It's great when they blend all that together, but honestly, not good for speaking voice. There's nothing worse than your voice going, and you know, that's not good when you're trying to get a message across. So on the Happie Amp, to keep your sound clear, you want to keep your antenna about 1/3 to maybe halfway up. So this is how high it goes, so then you just drop it back down. Now the reason for that is you don't want to pick up other things, like maybe CB radios in the area or whatever happens to be on your same channel, because this is set to certain channels. Each one of the microphones has a little number on the back, and that's the channel that it's on, okay? So occasionally you'll run into somebody who's on the same channel, and you don't want to do that, especially if you're in a park. If you're going to walk in front of your system, okay, you want to make sure that you don't get too close to it because it will feedback. And so another idea to turn down your volume on here, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But also, if you keep this too low, the system will cut in and out. It will not pick up your volume. So you want to make sure that you keep that at the right space. Keep the belt pack. And what they're really talking about is this right here. Keep this microphone thing on the outside of your clothing, just like I've got this one. The reason is when you rub it, and I don't know if you can pick this up, Glenn, you know, it makes noise. When the wind is blowing, it makes noise. That's why it has these wind protectors on it. This is actually a wind protector that just fits right over the microphone. And it keeps that sound from coming into your microphone. Although sometimes when it's very windy, I do hold my hand. I actually hold my hand like this over it, or like this, so that the wind doesn't catch it, but you can still hear my voice. So that's very important. Okay, sound is better when the speakers are high up. So in other words, what that means is if you can get this up high, it'll go up over the top of the crowd and the sound will actually be heard. Be heard, again. So very important. And there are stands available for the Happie Amp if you want to get them. They're not very expensive. Feedback. I do not want feedback. Don't give me any feedback. None, 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 none. What does that mean? Well, what that means is you want to make sure that when you use the speakers that they're slightly turned away from you. Anytime this gets too close, it will feed back, okay? And I was going to demonstrate that. Let me do that real quick here. Just so you can see what that sounds like. It is really bad. That's feedback right there. You just heard it, okay? Because I've got the gain up. Let me turn this down and turn this down. let's see, where is it? Here we go. Turn all these down. There we go. Okay, this is feedback. This is what happens, okay? That's feedback. I don't want to do too much of it. It's unpleasant. It's like fingers on a chalkboard. You don't want that when you're giving your presentation. So make sure that you don't stand in front of your speaker. You don't point your microphone at the speaker unless you're demonstrating like I just did. And that, you know, you don't walk in front of the speakers. It's very, very important. Usually I try to have the speakers out in front of me and I'm behind them so that I'm not broadcasting that. What else? Here's some additional information on how to use music with your Happie Amp and how to use two Happie Amps together on YouTube. So you can go to these links right here and you can see Brian Happie, who sells the amps, and he will help you by giving you some advice on how to hook together two systems so that you can have more sound, and also help you hook in music, which you can actually hook in your iPod or your iPhone just simply by getting a little bit of Velcro on here and a little bit of Velcro on a case that you don't mind putting Velcro on, and sticking your iPhone on here and plugging it right in, or your iPod and plugging it right into here. And it broadcasts. Just like this speaker would broadcast, it broadcasts for you and goes directly into the system. You can even put a little bit of Velcro on here and hook it right on here, and it automatically just goes right through the system. It's wonderful. So it's a great way to sound, and if you need music, perfect. So now I want feedback. Are there any questions? Anybody have a question?
Well, how much does it cost?
It depends on what you want. They start at around $289, and if you want like the stands and all that other kind of stuff, it's a little bit more. He also has something called the Ultimate Happie Amp now, which actually has a built-in little what's that called? The little thing for the music, where you can just plug it right in, like a little USB. Yeah, USB port for the music. So there's one that now that he's created for that. He works directly with the manufacturers. He doesn't. It's not made cheaply. This is really high quality stuff. So if you're looking for a system that is perfect, you can just go out to happieamp.com and find it. Okay? Any other questions?
Is there a training system? Does he have that on YouTube?
Yes,
as well?
that's where those are. In fact, he's got several different things on YouTube. There's what happens when you get your Happie Amp. You know, he actually shows unpacking it. Oh, and one of the differences between two of the sets is one of them comes with a handheld mic. So it's wireless, which is great. So yes, he shows what you get when you get it. He unpacks it, literally shows you. He also, when you order it, he sends you the notes, and I think I handed you the sheet of notes. He actually sends you that sheet of notes of all the tips and hints and ideas and ways to use it. And so what I touched on is not even in his notes. What I touched on mostly in this was how to use a sound system, which I think is important, because you can buy this, but if you don't know how to use it, it's, you know, pointless. He also shows you, like I said, how to use your music and how to hook two amps together, which I think is very informative, because sometimes you want two amps put together. And you don't even have to, they're not wired together, they're hooked together wirelessly. So if you need music and if you need sound, then you can get that. So, any other questions?
In a large group, would you use 2 amps to?
Yes, I would recommend 2 amps, but I can tell you that I've used one to do a wedding outside. It was like 150 people, and everybody heard me quite clearly. It was perfect, and I was surprised, to be honest, because I didn't have 2 at that time. I have 2 now, but I didn't have 2 at that time, and it was perfect. So.
Do you take a stand with you?
No, I don't. Actually, I didn't that time. I was actually standing on steps, so I was kind of high up, and the crowd was below me, so it worked. But I am thinking about ordering some stands, definitely, now that I know he has them available. So, any other questions? It's great questions.
How long has this been in production? How long has it been?
Oh my goodness, at least 3 years. At least I ordered 10 Happie Amps 2 years ago for my wedding officiants, and it's been the best purchase ever. So yeah, so at least 3 years. He started off selling, you know, he bought his own little Happie Amp and then went back to the manufacturer and said, look, I'm going to sell these for you, but here's what I need. And he talked to them, and so every year he's been doing an upgrade. So that's why he's got the ultra Happie Amp now. So it's wonderful. Any other? You're welcome. Thank you. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out today to see the workshop, and you know, we look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. Thanks.